welcome to Fantastic Beats. 3 people, 3 tracks. We swap and we talk about them. I'm Jack Tutor.
I'm Lizzie Maris.
And our guest this time is digital products designer, jiu-jitsu wizard, and putty-boned yoga maniac, James Marriott. Hello, James.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday morning. We're recording on Sunday morning for our track recommendations and chats about those tracks. I'm going to kick us off this time with a track by Dean Blunt called 50 Cent, which came out in 2014 from his album Black Metal. And he's a British musician and artist. He was in the band Hype Williams, and he's got this reputation for being incredibly difficult to pin down and quite mercurial. He doesn't do many interviews, and when he does, people always think that he's taking the piss and second guessing what he's saying, and there's definitely always a sense that he's toying with his audience and their powers of patience and tolerance as well. I mean, I saw him live a few years back, and there was a vocal loop that he played out into the crowd for about 15 minutes before he came on, and then filled the stage up with dry ice so you couldn't see anything, and came out and had no audience interaction and then fucked off again, which was amazing, but makes him incredibly compelling. And this track, like I say, is from the album Black Metal from 2014, which is full of these very dark, like reverb-heavy songs with kind of elements of folk and industrial as well. And I think that this track, I love a lot of the tracks on this album. This one for me is honest. I think it's perfect. I mean, it's so bleak. It's so full of shadow. It takes me right back to seeing him live in amongst all of that dry ice and the silhouettes of them on stage. It has these guitars that sort of fold over themselves. It's kind of delayed in a manner which means it just becomes this smear. The drum machine as well, driving everything along, feels like it's being played in with someone's fingers. It's like very sloppy and out of time. And his vocal duet with Joanne Robertson, who's the other singer on the song, has this kind of argumentative tension to it where I think basically the story is, I mean, the first line that he says is, "I want a girl doesn't want me back." And her line is like, "You're back again, I can't believe you." And there's a sort of sense that there's history there, but he's being kind of persistent and she's like, just fuck off. But it's done in this way which feels like he's kind of muttering bitterly to himself. It feels very lonely, this song, to me, and it's always over quicker than I expected to be. It's 2.5 minutes, but it really goes by in a flash, which I think just makes me, it's got this fleeting sensation to it which makes me want to listen to it again. Lizzie, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that he toys with his fans a little bit, because I felt quite shortchanged by the song. Every time I listen to it, when it finishes, I just go, what? And I think sort of the last thing that she's saying is like, "I can't believe you." And I'm like, well, I can't believe that, because that has just gone and happened. No, but so what I found really interesting about it is the structure of it. Yeah, you're right. Like, he clearly doesn't care for what would be considered like a pleasant structure, because the intro is like really, really long. It's about a third of the song. Yeah. And you think it's always about to kick in, and then it goes around on another sort of 4 or 8 bars. But yeah, I like the intro. It's sort of really long and woolly and shoegazy. And then when those kind of, they are sort of lonely, bleak vocals kick in. But actually, I think she does quite a lot of the work in it.
Totally, yeah.
I think she's kind of doing the heavy lifting on it. And it's like a really sort of short, tense argument, and then you're done. But really, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. I can understand that it's perhaps difficult to be a fan. Like, he's not making it easy. But that's absolutely fine. But it's interesting you say about that live context as well, because I can see that. Yeah, nice one.
Yeah. There's a bit in that set I didn't mention as well where he just had a sine wave playing and going up and down, and then a strobe light getting faster and then slower for about 10 minutes. And so I think he just has a disregard for audience tolerance a lot of the time. James, what do you think of it?
I really love this track. It's kind of like a weird dream that you've had where loads of kind of disparate parts of your day have kind of leaked into your consciousness and kind of merged together and formed something that's whole, but like totally kind of alien to anything else that I'd heard before.
Nice.
I mean, having said that, there's a few little references that I did pick up on. I think like there's a bit of like the sort of Kurt Weill and Ariel Pink kind of dreamy sort of sound in there. Yeah, I really loved it. What was kind of also interesting about it was that it's popped up on my Spotify before on my like Discover Weekly, so I kind of knew it.
Oh, cool.
And but I think it's sort of bad that I knew it but didn't know it at the same time, and it's kind of what Spotify tends to do a lot with the kind of Discover Weekly and sort of its sort of generated playlists where it will just keep sort of spoon feeding you stuff. It kind of anonymizes tracks and artists a little bit.
Yeah. Which I think is probably Dean Blunt's someone for whom that actually probably works, sort of in the sense that there is a strange anonymity to him anyway. So the fact that it's a track that sort of floats on the edge of awareness and conceals its identity, it sort of works with the algorithm a little bit. I know in a general sense that's kind of can be quite displacing. But yeah, I mean, I what I like as well is that if this is something which is someone's exposure to Dean Blunt, the rest of his stuff is not like this. Like, he does some really kind of intense, like obnoxious kind of hip hop stuff. He does some stuff which is just built from orchestral samples, and also he sold, I think, on eBay like a toy car filled with weed because he said he needed the money. He just does a lot of stuff that is quite funny.
Try to let go, but I can't relax. She got a new nigga, now we can't be family. Rival coming and they know my name. Got a new girl riding and I hope she game. In these streets we got no shame.
Let's go to our second track. James, it's yours. If you'd like to tell us about it, that'd be great.
Cool. So I've picked Stir Fry by Migos. And I picked this because it's from the soundtrack to the show Atlanta, which I was really, really into like deeply last year. So for those who don't know, it's created by Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, and it's sort of described as a comedy online on Wikipedia and stuff. But I think it's just the genre of it, it's just way more interesting than a comedy. It's really deep and dark and surreal, and it's got its own like really sort of vibrant, immersive world, and I was just totally absorbed in that for the duration of me watching it, which was about like 2 weeks. To get through both seasons, it was. I loved it that much. The track itself is just. I love that it's a blast of energy. It's got this really sort of complex beat and arrangements and stuff going on, and it's got this kind of edge of naff silliness to it. So Migos, it's their kind of signature thing is that they blurt out these little. I don't know what they're called. There's probably a technical musical name for them, but just at the end of each line it's like they're saying ice or whip it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's their kind of signature that they've been sort of picked up on by Snoop Dogg. I don't know if you've seen the video of his teardown of all like modern rap music, but it's kind of ripping into that sort of style.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely check it out. I'm not going to butcher it by doing the impression that he does of modern rap music. It's really good. Check that out. But yeah, I kind of picked this because it's discovered it really as like a sort of standout track off the Atlanta soundtrack when myself and my wife were driving up to Wales for a road trip, and it was just a really long drive, and this track came on like midway through that slog, and we were both just like dancing in the car. It was amazing. Just got that effect. So yeah.
Nice. Lizzie, what do you make of it?
Yeah, so I'm really glad that we had James on because, well, I felt, before I make myself like a total fool here, James, is this trap music?
I wouldn't say it's standard trap music. It's quite upbeat for trap. Migos are like do delve into trap and are considered trap, I guess.
Because I don't know a lot. I'm really glad we had James on because I know this is something that you're really into. So I've been trying to kind of like figure out what are the sort of characteristics of it. And I think there is a lyric in this song about it being something about it. So yeah, this was a really nice one to explore because it's not a genre that I know very well. It's interesting you say about the kind of like naff silliness of it, because I will always kind of naturally first of all like look at the lyrics. So yeah, but I think what struck me about the lyrics is that they're so broad. So I feel like you sort of get in a car and you're driven around this whole world very, very quickly, and you'll see a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and everything happens, and then when the song finishes you get out of the car and then you go home. So I feel like narratively I like how it's just all about that world very quickly, and then it's just not. I also picked up on the kind of, it's not call and response, but the line and then the word at the end of it. I really enjoyed that, especially the woof part about the dogs in the night. I thought that was good. But I really enjoyed, there's a really simple, I think it's a synth that just kind of goes a little bit up and a little bit down, but it's really, really simple. I was really sort of hooked onto that because it did remind me a little bit of Kate Nash, who I'm going to talk about later. And no doubt lots of people will hate that comparison, but it is that kind of simple synth, and at one point the vocal kind of just runs in parallel with it, and it sort of goes up and it sort of goes down. I really, really, really enjoyed exploring this. You totally bounce your way through it. That never stops, that never slows down. And I think some of these guys co-wrote Ape Shit. Is that right?
Really?
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, which really I didn't see that come at all. But yeah, I was just like researching it, and I think they did an original sort of version of it, and then Beyonce and Jay-Z took it, and I do think they're credited as co-writers, and I think they might even feature on it as well. Okay. So just from my very, very brief research, these guys seem very, very well regarded. I don't know if that's right, but they're big at the moment, aren't they? Like their album came out last year. I think they've got another album coming out quite soon as well. Like people seem to really want to work with them. They
got big collaborations with like Drake and stuff like that. They're pretty up there, I think, in this world. Yeah, well,
Pharrell produced this song as well, didn't he? Which is like, he appears in the video and just kind of sits there while they're playing poker or whatever. And then I was like, why is he just sat there? And it turns out that he's kind of produced it, and I guess it's a way of just, giving a little hat tip to him, the fact that he's there. But it's interesting you make reference to the fact that you had it in your car, and that's when you remember listening to it most prominently, because we had it on in my car. And having your hands on the steering wheel while this song is playing over quite a good sound system is really nice, because I felt the vibrations going up through the steering wheel, because the bass is it's clearly like impeccably produced. The bass is so targeted, like it doesn't swamp the track, but you really feel it as well. But then percussion wise, there's like so much going on. You've got like bongos tucked in there. You've got like a cymbal off to your right hand side, which is kind of doing its own thing. You've got a few crickets as well, and it's really interconnected in this really like intricate way. And I love how the rap just bounces off the rhythm as well, and especially like in the chorus, you've got that tension and release thing of like where it's like kitchen wrist twisted like it. And then like that kind of thing, and then the stir fry, it's like stir fry, so it ends up with this like da da, and that whole thing just seems to like drive it forward. I also think that the auto-tune is like super interesting, because it's kind of throttled back and then applied quite heavily depending on the verse. So like in the first, is it Quavo or Quavo, his verse is like kind of mid-intensity, and then it's like rolled back when Offset comes in for the second verse, and then it gets really thick when Takeoff's verse comes in at the end. And his tone as well in the last verse is like so different to the other two that it's like, oh blimey, and it kind of gives the song like a little sort of lift and a bit more momentum as it's kind of like hurtling towards the ending. But yeah, I understand with that chorus line, like I say, it's got this real satisfying quality to it, which makes me realised that it's okay for it to be repeated over and over again, because actually it does kind of get quite addictive. I also understand, like, looking at the lyrics, that actually they're about making crack. And when I say I understand that, I mean that I looked it up online. But
is it?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean,
Well, they were just making some dinner.
well, in a way, they are some kind of sustenance, that's for sure. But yeah, it's I really enjoyed it, and I've been meaning to check out Migos for a while. So I was driving home once, and then a song came on the radio just as I'd unplugged my phone, because I was listening to something on my phone, and then suddenly this cut in. I was like, "What is that?" And I think it was another track of theirs called Motorsport. So yeah, I'm glad that I got an opportunity to listen to them as well, and also it brought back Atlanta memories too.
James, there's a bit in it which I've written down as birds in the night. There's a bit that sounds like birds tweeting, but I think it might be like a flute or a synthesized flute or something.
I know the bit.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
There's also a bit about a booty like an onion that makes the world cry, which is curious. I didn't really understand.
That's sad, isn't it?
I don't know how much their lyrics are kind of really meant to be understood, or like the primary kind of thing of their music. It's almost like used like percussion. And
Absolutely.
It's the same with those like call outs and stuff. It's kind of, it feels like they're almost there to kind of accentuate the beat, and they're not really. Narrative is definitely secondary.
I realised as soon as I looked up the lyrics, I was like, I'm in the wrong place, I'm doing the wrong thing. These lyrics are not written to be looked up at all.
You just had to look deeper, guys.
In the kitchen, wrist twisted like it's stir fry. Hold them bands down, hold your mans down. Who told you come around? It's that trap sound. Designer, clothes, fashion, shows, trap, house, made it, gold. Control the bag now, no need to brag now. Hey, put the mask down, we living fast now. Finest, old, mix, rolls, we can go, watching me with Bob still keep real and fame.
Let's have our final recommendation. Lizzie, that's yours. What is it?
Yeah. So this is Kate Nash. This is a song called Navy Taxi. It's sort of, but not quite, off her 2007 Made of Bricks album, but only on the Japanese bonus edition, I think. So if you have Made of Bricks, so Foundations came out and was massive, and they brought out the album, I think it was 5 weeks early to sort of get on the back of that. This is a song that is well hidden, and I really couldn't find it anywhere other than sort of YouTube. So the thing that strikes you first about this track is there's an immediate hiss before it even starts, so you know that it's a home recording, and it also peaks in places as well when she's really going for it. I really, really enjoy that. Both of your tracks are very heavily produced. This one certainly isn't, and it is just vocals and piano. So it's kind of very tropical chords, which is something I think in the early days she was quite known for. Quite simple tropical chords.
Tropical?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Sort of, I don't know. I'll come back to that. Sunny okay. And kind of optimistic chords.
Yes.
Because she's from London and her lyrics are very real, gritty, real life, and you sort of get this impression that she's in a very grey place. I like the contrast of that. So I think the thing that's important to say about this track is that I just want to completely recognise that I am not pushing anything here. I'm not exploring any boundaries. I'm not walking around any unknown territory. I just see myself in this track, and I think that's why I've always quite enjoyed her work. The chorus on this track is to me, it's like the most comforting thing in the world, and because the production's not great, it does feel like a friend is saying it to you, just sort of sat next to you. There's no sort of layers of production that you feel sort of like, oh yeah, this was made somewhere else far away quite a long time ago, and it's kind of unreachable. So the main sort of thing of this song is about a taxi. Well, I think it is anyway. It's about a taxi man sort of disarming her. She's having a bit of a rubbish time, and then this sort of taxi man sort of disarms her with this really lovely wisdom, where he says, "Take your time, love. It's your life, and it's no one else's, sweetheart. Don't let someone put you in a box." And I just find it so warming that I sometimes do listen to this track when I'm having a rough time, and I just think, just chill out, it's okay, take a step back, just whoa, and sort of reclaim everything in my life a little bit. And I have a few friends that have said that this sort of funny little track has just brought them a lot of peace at quite tumultuous times. So this is my track. James, what are you thinking?
Oh, it's really interesting. I think we've got sort of quite a similar interpretation of it. So the way I relate to quite a lot of music is pretty visual, because I'm not as sort of musical as you guys. I don't play an instrument. I don't really know the sort of technical, formal stuff. So visuals and scenes is kind of how I relate to it.
Yes, the best way.
It's interesting you said like really grey Cockney sort of stuff, because that's exactly, I imagine just EastEnders. Really bleak EastEnders episode, and it just feels like she's really harried and kind of like lacking hope through quite a lot of it. And then she gets this salve of kind of reassurance from the taxi driver. But interesting that you use it for like reassurance, because I find it a little bit more bleak than that, and I don't know. So yeah, when she says like this time it'll be different, I just wonder whether you guys are sort of convinced that it will.
No,
it will be different.
No, I'm not.
No, it won't be. But she wants it to be, and that's the most important thing.
Don't ruin this
fair.
iota of nostalgia for Lizzie. You could slaughter this for her.
Oh no, sorry.
No, not at all. No, it's so. This is the nice thing about this podcast, which is great because we created it, but is putting something that you've held quite tightly for a long time just out for discussion.
Out to slaughter.
Nine times out of 10 you just hear things that you have never ever heard, and then it changes it forever, and mostly in a really interesting way.
Yeah,
that's interesting that you kind of see the perhaps like the bleakness in it. Do you feel like she's just in a bit of a never-ending cycle, maybe?
Yeah, totally. There's loads of accidents and sort of stuff that's happening to her rather than. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I think she loses a tenner and like misses a train. It's just a lot of harried is the word.
Yeah, definitely.
I think also the fact that the chord progression never changes throughout. Like even when she's doing that line where she's like, this time it'll be different, the chords kind of betray that because they keep coming round to the same refrain, and the only thing that changes is the rhythm of the chords throughout. So sometimes it gets a bit more jaunty, sometimes the piano kind of goes so it's just like a chord, very soft chord, and then another very soft chord, and it's almost like the same shit different day kind of thing. The rhythm changes, but ultimately the chord progression is the same all the way through. And I mean I like the idea. I thought the image of carrier bags in a navy taxi is really cool because it plants this image in my head of someone whose belongings are in something very transient and who's also getting a form of transport which someone might get if they miss the train or the bus, like they have to shell out more, but to get there quicker they're constantly chasing their schedule down a bit. And like James, I definitely didn't see this as an optimistic thing. It was like the days that you wake up and go, right, I'm going to pull my shit together, and then suddenly you find that your flies are undone. Or something like that, and you're like, okay, actually, I don't know why that was, that's obviously a pertinent example to me. I mean, it's really interesting to hear Kate Nash now, I think, because this is something that I felt like when she was big in the mid-noughties, this whole kind of awkward conversational style of vocal and, an accent that was quite authentic to the singer rather than adopting this faux American style was suddenly quite big. I mean, the streets were big around this time as well. You had these sort of bastions of authentic living sort of being quite popular and quite big, and it feels like that there's now a lot of that. We've got something like grime, which is massive, and it's interesting hearing Kate Nash now again within the context of this now being quite a prevalent way of approaching music.
Oh, and it's wildly different to the work that she makes now, like wildly different. But I really enjoy it because I think if you know her work, this is really like a glimpse of a home recording where you can see how somebody started. It's got everything that characterises her early work right there in one go, and you just think, wow, you're just going to go on this amazing journey that is still very much in flow now, but just in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And it's just nice. I think it's really lovely to hear people at the very start of that journey and going, these are all the ingredients that you're eventually going to put into this crazy cake, and
and mistakes as well. Like she does some playing mistakes. It's just interesting, isn't it? She's like, and she just lets them be.
All right, well, she's in the rain. She's lost a tenner. give her a chance.
But that's why it's nice, isn't it? It's like you wouldn't smooth over them if you're doing a song about kind of your obligations getting on top of you. You wouldn't be like, this needs to be a perfect take.
The other train's delayed. Great. Carry your bags and a navy taxi. Man said, take your time, love. 'Cause you don't have to rush. 'Cause it's your life and it's no one else's. Sweet.
Cool. Well, this has been great. James, thanks for coming on the poddy.
No worries. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really, really did enjoy. I'm definitely going to listen to more Migos. That was really nice to go into that.
Pop more on in the car. That's the way to do it. Lizzie, if people want to keep up to speed with Fantastic Beats, where should they be headed?
Yes, you should be headed to fantasticbeatspodcast.com, or you can find us on Twitter at fantastic_pod. Or if you want to be a guest or you've got something to say, you can email us at hello@fantasticbeatspodcast.com. This has been fabulous. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.